Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you all so very much for joining us. This is Trekker's Delight, specifically Section 31, where we talk all things Section 31. I'm here with my man, Jason McCammon. And Jason, introduce yourself to everyone.
What's up? I'm Jason.
Excellent. You all are very familiar with Jason. You've seen Jason all throughout most of these episodes. So let's get started with our intro. All right.
Hey,
Thank you all so very much. So as I said before, this show is all about Section 31. To do that effectively, we are going to basically engage ourselves into a deep dive of the aspects of individual episodes of Star Trek that specifically deal with Section 31 to gain a greater understanding. Now, of course, this is all happening with the thought in mind that Star Trek will produce a show specifically titled Section 31. All right, so we're dissecting each show chronologically. Obviously, we've seen these episodes when they first aired, but we are also purposefully putting ourselves into the shoes of those of you who basically need a crash course and may not have seen these episodes or paid too much attention to the plot development of Section 31. So remember, the show Section 31 is currently in pre-production, but we want everyone to be ready for that show when it comes out. All right. Before we get started, Jason, is there anything that you want to say about those two episodes that we watched? Oh, I'm sorry. The two episodes that we watch that we're going to be talking about today: The Sound of Thunder and Light and Shadow.
well, the first one didn't have a lot of Section 31 in it. Sorry. But overall, between the two, you can just see how Section 31 is sort of on a mission, and they're on top of it, and they have an agenda, and they want something, and they are definitely inserting themselves into the situation with Spock uh, in regards to the Red Angel. So, and it's kind of a power struggle between Discovery and Section 31, between Tyler and Captain Pike. And we see that in these two episodes.
All right. Good. All right. So as you said, this episode is mostly not about Section 31. It only has a few mentions. Excuse me. However, Section 31 is probably the main antagonist. It's clear Section 31 believes the Red Angel to be a threat because they consider it dangerous to have this particular ability. Also, Section 31 through Ash Tyler asks Burnham to think of a place Spike might have gone. And so, of course, Control, which models are basically pays attention to Section 31's threat assessment, is probably rightfully alarmed at the possibility of time travel. And has its own agenda manipulating the fates of entire species. All right, so we know that the Temporal Accords, the Department of Temporal Investigations, the Temporal Cold War, all of that has happened for us, right? These are different concepts that we've seen and heard about in Star Trek up to this point. But I wonder, I wonder if the very idea of time travel from the perspective of the Federation was first sparked by this encounter with the Red Angel. Thoughts?
Well, the idea of time travel was not, because we have an Enterprise. We got Lieutenant Daniels, and time travel exists, so they definitely know about it. Now, the idea of can we do it and manipulate it? Um, Probably it's one of the first times it probably comes up in that way. No one's ever really suggested any type of doing time travel before this point. Um, but at this point, I don't think it's any type of agenda by the Federation at large. But I do definitely think it becomes an agenda for Section 31. Uh, Hear about the the time traveling machine.
Yeah.
I mean, not
Yeah.
machine, suit.
Yeah, it just reminded me. I remember when I saw this particular episode, and we talked about it on previous episodes. I don't know if it was the last one that we did or maybe the one before. But Leland was definitely intrigued about the idea of time travel. And I remember Admiral, I can never think of her name. But the Admiral was just like, "Nah, get your mind off that. We're going in a different direction." But at that point, like anytime an actor mentions something off, you know, off key, you've got to wonder whether or not this is gonna be significant. And I remember for me, that was something that made me say, I don't know about you. I don't even know if you remember that exchange.
We talking about Admiral Cornwell?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, right. Well, actually, let me let me think about this chronologically. At this point, actually, I don't think they know it's a actual humanoid yet. That doesn't come until the next episode. But I think they do know that it's a time traveling. Has something to do with time travel.
Correct.
Right. Okay. um, I'm sorry. What was that question? One more time. Sorry.
No, I was just saying that I remember when when the whole issue with the Red Angel first came up. um the Admiral came and she was just like, basically, I need Discovery and Section 31 to work on this together.
Mm-hmm.
um and I forgot what it was quantum such and such. And so there were only two possibilities that quantum whatever could mean. The first one and the second one was time travel. And Leland immediately said, "Oh, you're talking about time travel."
Mm-hmm.
Immediately, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's significant because, well, yeah. Okay. So that's significant because in this particular episode of Light and Shadow, we learned something. We learned something major about the relationship between Leland and Burnham's parents. You
Yes.
recall? What is it that we learned here?
That he was responsible for them being where they were. Um, and Burnham always thought it was because of her, uh, but it wasn't. That's what made it so hard. She's been carrying it around for decades. But what I'm not sure of, which I probably need to go back and look again, what I'm not sure of is if Leland knows about the suit at that point, if he had anything to actual, I don't think so.
No, not at that time. I just think that, his memory, look, you're talking about something that I've worked on in the past. So my mind is going to immediately, go towards that.
But so what I'm saying is, you're saying that he did work on the time travel in the past.
Well, I don't know if he worked on it. I know that he, according to Jarjo, has something to do with their death. And if he has something to do with their death and he was in Starfleet, then he might have had something to do with it.
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm unclear about. So I'm unclear about his knowledge of the time travel suit
Mm-hmm.
and specifically, or just any research into time travel in general. I'm also not sure if he was in Section 31 at that point.
I'm not certain.
They don't say that. They don't say
Not certain. What we know about Section 31 is they can come and get you, recruit you at any moment. They can recruit you while you're in the academy or years later, i.e. Bashir.
Right, but there's a different times. Again, there's a rise and fall of and a rise again of Section 31. We are actually Discovery is probably at the highest, at the pinnacle of Section 31, at their strongest and most powerful, well known, not secretive, and then there's a fall, probably because of control, and then this is my take on it. There's a fall, and then it doesn't die all the way out, but it sort of fizzles back into being in a way, more secretively and more cloak and dagger, which we see later on in Deep Space Nine.
Agreed. Agreed. All right. So we're talking about light and shadow. So basically there's an exchange in that particular episode. Tyler reminds Pike that he doesn't have to tell Tyler anything about Burnham or her whereabouts, right? Because that has nothing to do with why he's there. But he must communicate anything regarding issues dealing with the Red Angel or the signals created by the Red Angel. Tyler's concern is almost frantic, almost frantic. And my question is this: what is this scene, this particular scene? What is this scene likely communicating about Section 31 itself?
It's communicating its very strong intentions to complete its goals, and it's also asserting where its power is, and that it has power, and that's where that power struggle is between Pike and Tyler, where he flips in the badge and then he flips it back. So they're trying to, and I really like the way Pike handles it, you know, where he says the chair outweighs the badge. But what I really would have liked is to see actually Leyland I would like to have seen Tyler actually talking to Leyland through a holo at some point, so we could actually see what his actual directive is concerning every situation. Because I wonder how much of it is Section 31 and how much of it is just Tyler.
Right. Right. And you mentioned before just the fact that Tyler at this point seems to be so indoctrinated into Section 31. And to your point from earlier, this is almost part of his personality, right? So if you think about where he was in terms of Volk being a Klingon, right? So he was very fanatical. Right, just very, very, very fanatical. So that's a new part of his personality as an individual, and to now know that the only place in your galaxy that you have a place is Section 31, right? You don't even have a place within Starfleet itself. You only have a small slice of Section 31 that you can kind of cling to.
Right. So you have to worry about his motives and what he's feeling, because obviously, I mean, he ends up back on Discovery, but he obviously, after the whole Volk thing, doesn't feel as welcome or at home being on Discovery, right? Especially with Colbert walking around, wanting to kick his ass every time he sees him down the hall. And Paul's like, "Well, we could change the room downstairs if you want." So maybe he found some place that doesn't really care as long as he gets the job done. So he fits. Right. He's like, I fit here. So is he trying to prove himself to Section 31, or is that just his mindset? Like he he's I don't know why I thought xenophobic, but I don't know. What's powerphobic? I don't know. Scared of he's obviously afraid of this power that it's more powerful than them, that he can't control. Has their power as well as obtain it by any cost, pretty much.
You know what? That would have been it would have been awesome to see Ash Tyler talking to Leland, just to kind of see, like, number one, to find out what type of pressure he would have applied on Tyler. You know what I'm saying? What, because typically a whole lot what we've learned in the past is that these agents, these Section 31 agents, they know a whole lot about the psychology of the people that they're working with. So what aspect of Ash Tyler's psychology was he playing on? If we had actually seen the two of them talk, like, that would have been illuminating, at least for me.
Well, first of all, Ash is a Starfleet officer, which has to do with a certain amount of loyalty, right? And then he have his persona is Volk, which is a Klingon, which also deals with loyalty. And I think that he probably plays on his sense of wanting to be loyal and accepted by something or someone. He can't be loyal to the Klingons. He feels maybe he could try to be loyal to Discovery, but he doesn't feel accepted. So he plays on his need for loyalty and acceptance to Section 31, in which he allows him to fit in. You know, it's like why people join gangs.
Yeah.
Right. Your son come home, you're like, Daddy, I'm folks now. What?
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Another question: How could Ash Tyler have handled that situation differently?
The one about Burnham.
Well, yeah, like his exchange with Pike, right? So basically, he was going at him, and he was asserting his power, right? So instead of asserting his power, what could he have done differently?
Right. So yeah, that was the one about Burnham, because Burnham left. She left. She went to Vulcan, and Tyler asked where she was, and Pike said it's personal. He said, "Why didn't you tell me?" He said, "Because it's personal." And he jumped down his throat and says, like, "Well, you need to tell me if it's got to do with, that Red Angel or whatever." I mean, I guess he could have been like, "Hey, man, look, I know you look at us as being, opposite sides of the coin, but we're both looking for the same thing here. We both want to solve this Red Angel problem. Let me know, and me and Section 31 has resources that could help." Only thing about that is I just don't think that's Tyler's character played. I can see somebody.
What kind of character has he played?
Else doing that. If you watch him, he's completely like demeaning to Pike. He's extremely adversarial at any point that he can be. And he's not trying to be a team player at all. So that would go outside his character at that point to try to be a team player, unless he was going to try to play that on. Now he could have played that card and then been like, like he could have extended his hand, camaraderie, and said, "Let's do this together, buddy." And then, like, when they saw him, he could have been like, "Oh, I was just playing," and just took Burnham or whatever. But
now, okay, so
like
this is my.
I was gonna say I don't like his attitude towards it, but it's consistent to what his attitude is during this whole time frame of these episodes.
So this is my question to you. This is my question to you. So it's also consistent that everyone is being like super shady toward him, like like especially Pike. Like Pike is what does he say? He says something about a penny, like I forget what he says. Basically, what he's basically saying is, you keep turning up, and I don't like the fact that you're here. You know what I'm saying? It's like every time he turns around, it's like everyone is basically just shitting on him. Like, nah, dude, we don't like you. We don't want you here. We're dealing with you because of the situation, but we don't want you here. And so at a certain point, he's got to flex.
I didn't want him there. He literally killed Cobra. I mean, you have to deal with. That's what it is. He doesn't make his character doesn't seem like he's trying to make amends for it, like at all. He's just coming in. It's like if you cheat on your woman, you're gonna have to expect that she's gonna be giving you shitty looks for the next 6 months, and you just gotta accept that and go mow the grass like you're supposed to.
Okay, so what does he do? What does he do? He kills someone, and this person came back to life. How does he make amends?
You don't. You wait. I mean, well, you certainly don't go flexing your muscles around, walking those big ass hallways. It's made for they're only that big because Saru is there. If Saru was not there, those hallways would not be that tall. Anyway, you don't go around flexing your muscles and barking orders, circumventing the captain and undermining his orders. You don't do that.
Okay. All right. What if also within the context we just described a situation where the only place that he fits is section 31. Section 31 is saying results. We want results. This is what we want.
I told you, but that's why people join gangs. It's the same thing. It's literally the same thing. Acceptance, loyalty.
I get it, but in that situation for him, how does he act? How should he act?
To Discovery or to Section 31?
No, within Discovery.
How should he act as a Section 31 liaison?
Mm-hmm.
He should just be a little more conforming. Like he shouldn't be so conflictive and combative about everything.
Would he get results?
Yeah, he might. You know, that's not the way to do everything. Is to be combative, like I just said. That's not the only way. Because literally, every time he's confronts Pike in that manner, he doesn't get results that way. Like it never works. Pike's just like, whatever, dude. Pike decides what he's gonna give him, and he gives it to him, out of good faith of the relationship they're supposed to have. But not because of Tyler told him to.
I agree with you. I'm pushing the envelope. I want to take us to the shuttlecraft. So Pike and Tyler are on the shuttlecraft, and there are a few exchanges between the two of them, and then finally, Tyler basically saves his life. His meaning Pike's life.
Mm-hmm.
And then once that whole situation is over with, on the bridge, Tyler and Pike are on the bridge of Discovery. And Pike basically extends an olive branch and quietly goes up to Ash Tyler and basically says, if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be alive. And also, there were a couple other things that you said that were true and correct. And then Tyler then says, well, you were right. You were the best one for that particular job to pilot the shuttlecraft. And so that was part of the reason why I asked that question. Was there a different way to get the results that Tyler needed besides,
Right. I mean, it's part of me does not like that Pike said all that, because I kind of feel like he kind of bowed down and caved in. But you have to also realize that as a Starfleet captain, you are also a diplomat, and you have to understand what diplomacy is. And so you do have to understand that sometimes when you feel like there are two heads just going at it, that sometimes you need to be the one to just not bow down, but just like conform, and you extend the olive branch first, because a lot of times when people fight, it's like relationships, same thing. Everybody wants to win out the argument. At some point, somebody has to say, I don't even want to win the argument. What's more important is our communication, and that's not going to happen as long as we're yelling at each other and being combative. Never going to happen. So that was probably a good move on his part, even though part of me does not like that. He feels like he caved in to Tyler.
Why do you not like Ash Tyler? You have never like any time that we have covered this and we talked about Ash Tyler, you let me know you can't stand that boy. Why can you not stand this boy?
He murdered Culver. I just don't like his attitude towards everything.
You don't like his attitude. Okay, all right. Okay, so we're no longer talking about Section 31. But so I don't know if it was like one episode or two episodes, but we got to see like the love affair between Tyler and Burnham. Before I think we might have known at this point that he was Vogue as well. But we still saw like that love affair. Like, did you feel anything towards him during that? Like, okay, all right, he cool. Did you ever feel that towards him?
The thing is, I remember when it first came out and people were putting on Facebook like, "I bet you that's Vogue." And I was like, "That's the stupidest thing I ever heard." Like,
okay.
And it turned out to be him. I don't know. I guess I didn't like him as much back then either. Sorry, Ash Tyler.
Okay, all right. All right. It's all good. It's all good. I just wanted to get to the heart of it. I did have another question for you. But in pre-production, we kind of decided not to discuss that particular question. However, I did want to say this. Section 31 has a memory extractor to try to find more knowledge on the Red Angel. And they wanted to use that to extract information from Spock's mind. It's clear Control wants information to assess the extent to which the Red Angel has prepared for Control. And to me, this is just another example of the technology that Section 31 has. For my part, I am excited about this particular show. Future show, Star Trek show, is going to be quite unique because in my mind, Jason, I'm specifically thinking that they're gonna be dealing with time travel. Probably not every episode. I'm not thinking that. Like maybe once or twice a season, right? They're gonna be going back and forth. But that's what I believe. I believe that wholeheartedly. And we also know that Section 31 has more technology than regular Starfleet vessels. And so I want to know what that technology is, depending on the time frame. I'm sorry.
They don't have a spore drive.
True. But if they're operating in the future, they would have that ability.
Not necessarily.
Yeah. Think about it for a second. So if they're operating in the future, meaning Discovery's season 4, if they're operating
you're talking about 900 years in the future. Okay.
Yeah. If they're operating then that means that every aspect of Section 31 would have, the ability to travel using a spore drive.
Okay. I don't. Okay.
What you thinking?
No, I was thinking something, but it's not canon. I was like, I don't see why they need him anyway when Scotty can just beam him from a planet to a spaceship whenever he wants. That's J.J. Abrams movies.
Bro, but hold up, wait a minute. Did you see in this episode? I don't know if it was Light and Shadow or the one before Sound of Thunder, but Owushikan beamed. She beamed Pike and Tyler and Stamets directly onto the bridge. At one point in Star Trek, like that just couldn't happen, right? And at this point, they're not in the future; they're in the past, right? So, how did that happen?
Well, people started doing that definitely in TNG,
right?
The original series. I don't think they ever did that. They always beamed to the transporter. But I don't see why they couldn't. I don't see, as far as the technology goes, really, when you think about it, transporter rooms are just useless. They're
I mean,
pointless.
in Discovery, they're definitely useless. Like clearly, because how many times have we like maybe the first 2 or 3 episodes did we see them really use a transporter? But since then, we haven't seen them use it.
Right. So I think in the original series, in the original series they didn't do it, and then in TNG they thought it was cool to do like they used to call them computer site-to-site transport to what you call it, or being directly to sick bay, or some. So they've never really established like whether or not they could do it at one point, but not at another point. I'm trying to think of Enterprise if they ever beamed something not to the transporter room.
I don't ever recall it happening. At least with my memory, your memory is much better with Star Trek than mine. But I remember there being like a strict issue, like we can't, like they have to be transported to the transporter room. You know, at
Right.
some point in that exchange, the transporter room had to have been part of it.
Well, they didn't use. They didn't really. They tried at first. They didn't use transporters very much in Enterprise, which was another
Correct.
great thing about Enterprise, is that they showed that transition between not using transporters, and by the end they were using them regularly, like there was no problem. Another great thing I liked about the Enterprise series.
Okay. Everyone, we have come to that 31-minute mark. We've gone over by about a minute, maybe 2.
Section 31.
There you go. You got it. Any parting words for us, Jason?
Keep hope alive. No, it. I am interested in seeing where they go with Section 31. Just period. I mean, and Strange New Worlds, are they going to be on there? Because it's right. I assume it's right after, Discovery. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Looking forward.
All right. Yeah. All of it interesting. All of it is interesting, and I look forward to it. Peace and blessings to you. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. Tell everyone that you know all about Trekker's Delight. And keep us in mind. Have a good one.
Yeah.